I'm going to dive into one of these attributes right now, and I'm going to dive into emotional intelligence. Right? So, emotional intelligence is one of these things that's become very popular in the business world and the pop psychology world in the last 20 years. And for good reason. People with higher emotional intelligence, they perform better at work, they get promoted faster, their teams perform better when they're leaders. There's all sorts of good stuff that comes from having a higher emotional intelligence. It's pretty hard to define in a lot of ways. Different academics define it in different ways, but there's consensus on breaking it down into four parts that are fairly obvious. There's sort of a 2 by 2 grid. There's yourself and others, and there's awareness and regulation, right? So there's self-awareness, self-regulation, awareness of others' emotions, and managing those emotions in relationships. If you can do all four of those things really well, you're highly emotionally intelligent. Now, academics have two schools of thought on what's kind of the underlying attribute itself. Some see it as a trait that's much like your personality. So emotional intelligence that's trait-based is thought of as being optimistic, empathetic, liking people, perceptive, rather than judgmental, stuff like that. It's harder to move, right? Because if you don't like people, you don't like people. Then there's ability-based emotional intelligence, which is considered the part that you can teach. This is your ability to look at someone's face and tell what emotion is going on in them right now. You can cultivate this through things like meditation or just straight study from books, looking at people's faces. The reason these two measurements matter is that the trait-based version of this is the one that has much higher correlation and driving force in job performance, but the ability-based form of emotional intelligence is the one that people focus on teaching, specifically because it's the easier one to try to teach, because you can just give people like a piece of paper with a bunch of facial expressions on it and say, hey, this is happiness, this is sadness, etc. But there's more value in developing the trait-based part of emotional intelligence, perceptiveness, self-reflectiveness, etc. And it takes a lot more depth and focus and feedback. And so it's not the kind of thing that you can just put in an online course or put in a book. It's one of the reasons we focus on it, because teaching and developing emotional intelligence integrates well with our very in-depth peer-driven pedagogy. It's the kind of thing that we have a comparative advantage in helping develop.